Halloween night, 1974. Deer Park, Texas. Rain falling on quiet suburban streets, children moving door to door in costume, plastic pumpkins swinging, porch lights flicking on and off. It is an ordinary evening in an ordinary neighborhood. By midnight, one house on this street will be the center of a story that changes how an entire country thinks about candy, about strangers, and about a father named Ronald Clark O'Bryan. O'Bryan was 30 years old, a deacon at his local Baptist church, an optician who fitted eyeglasses for a living. He had 2 children, 8-year-old Timothy and 5-year-old Elizabeth. To neighbors, he looked like any other suburban father, walking his kids through the rain that Halloween with a family friend, Jim Bates, and Bates' own 2 children. What none of them could see was the debt closing in on him. O'Bryan owed close to $100,000. He had already lost the family's house. His car was next. Weeks earlier, records would later show, he had taken out life insurance policies on both of his children, worth roughly $31,000 combined. The group worked their way through the neighborhood. At one point, O'Bryan fell behind the others, lingering near a darkened house when no one answered the door. When he caught back up, he had good news. Someone inside had given him candy after all. 5 giant Pixy Stix, over 20 inches long, tubes of powdered sugar candy. He handed them out one by one, to Timothy, to Elizabeth, to the Bates children, and to another boy from his church he recognized on the walk home. 5 children, 5 candies, from a house that, as investigators would soon discover, did not exist the way O'Bryan described it. Back home, before bed, Timothy asked his father if he could have a treat. O'Bryan chose the Pixy Stix for him. The powder had clumped in the straw, so O'Bryan helped his son work it loose. Timothy took his first mouthful and immediately complained that it tasted bitter. O'Bryan brought him a glass of Kool-Aid to wash the taste away. Within minutes, Timothy was vomiting and convulsing on the bathroom floor. His father sat beside him. An ambulance was called, but Timothy died before it reached the hospital, less than an hour after his first bite of candy. At the morgue, a medical examiner leaned over the boy's body and caught a distinct, sharp scent on his breath: bitter almonds. It is one of the oldest warning signs in forensic medicine, and it meant only one thing: cyanide. An autopsy confirmed enough poison in his small body to kill 2 grown men. When police recovered the other 4 Pixy Stix, pulled back from the children before any of them could take a bite, they found the same signature in every tube. The top 2 inches of each straw had been emptied of candy, packed instead with potassium cyanide, and the tube resealed shut with a staple. The neighborhood spiraled into panic. Parents across Deer Park and the surrounding towns brought bags of trick-or-treat candy to the police station, terrified that a stranger was lacing sweets at random. For a few days, that was the story America told itself: a monster hiding behind a porch light, poisoning children for no reason at all. Investigators tried to retrace O'Bryan's steps to the house where he said he'd received the candy. He couldn't find it. The home he pointed to belonged to a man who, it turned out, hadn't even been there that night. He was working a shift at Houston's airport with witnesses and time cards to prove it.
With the stranger theory collapsing, detectives turned back to the one adult who had touched every piece of candy before it reached the children: Ronald O'Bryan himself. A search of the family home turned up a pair of scissors with a plastic residue that matched the material used to reseal the tampered Pixy Stix. Financial records surfaced the insurance policies taken out on both children weeks before Halloween. A chemist testified that in the weeks prior, O'Bryan had asked pointed questions about where cyanide could be purchased and how much of it would be lethal. Piece by piece, the case against him assembled itself, not from a single confession, but from a trail of small, damning details. On November 5, 1974, less than a week after his son's death, Ronald O'Bryan was arrested. He was indicted on 1 count of capital murder for Timothy and 4 counts of attempted murder for the other children, who might just as easily have eaten the poisoned candy themselves, including his own daughter. Prosecutors argued that O'Bryan intended for more than 1 child to die that night, to make the crime look like exactly the kind of random stranger danger panic that had already gripped the neighborhood. That only 1 child took a fatal bite was, by their account, a matter of chance rather than mercy. The trial opened in the spring of 1975 and drew national attention as reporters and the public struggled to process a father accused of using his own child and his child's friends as cover for an insurance scheme. O'Bryan maintained his innocence throughout, insisting to the end that a stranger at a darkened doorway was responsible. The jury did not agree. On June 3, 1975, after just 46 minutes of deliberation, they found him guilty of capital murder. 71 minutes later, they returned a sentence: death. Appeals stretched on for nearly a decade, keeping the case in headlines through the late 70s and early 80s. Ronald Clark O'Bryan was executed by lethal injection on March 31, 1984, becoming one of the earliest people put to death by that method in the United States. Outside the prison in Huntsville, Texas, demonstrators gathered in Halloween masks, calling out "trick or treat" as the sentence was carried out. The case earned O'Bryan a handful of grim nicknames in the press: the Candyman, the man who killed Halloween, the Pixy Stix killer. But its legacy outlasted the headlines. Timothy O'Bryan's death is widely credited with cementing an urban legend that had circulated in whispers for years before 1974, the fear of tampered Halloween candy. Poisoned treats handed out by anonymous strangers. That fear reshaped the holiday itself. Hospitals began offering free candy X-rays, parents started inspecting every wrapper, and trick-or-treating slowly gave way to supervised community events. The irony the case left behind is a hard one. The danger that generations of American children were warned about at every porch light was never really a stranger in the dark. In the one documented case that gave the legend its power, the threat had been standing beside the victim the entire time, holding his hand as he swallowed the poison.